Hello friends, welcome to another panel discussion with Banking Frontiers. Our topic today is N equals 1, the new opportunity, which is what is happening with the confluence of data and technology and digital and social. To discuss this opportunity N equals 1, we have with us 4 very eminent panelists, and we're going to learn from them how in the post-pandemic scenario, in the new digital reality, N equals 1 can really empower organizations, can really empower financial organizations. So welcome everyone. May I request everyone to briefly introduce themselves, and I'll start with myself. My name is Manoj Agrawal. I'm the group editor at Banking Frontiers magazine. May I request Anand to please briefly introduce himself.
Hi everyone. I head up marketing for Fino Payments Bank. Been an entrepreneur in my role before this, and that too in the area of consumer behavior. So I guess that's I hope to bring those kind of perspectives into this really good discussion. So really looking forward to this in a big way.
Super, Anand. Thank you.
Thanks.
Deepu?
Yeah. Good afternoon, Manoj, and good afternoon, co-panelists and the audience and everyone who's worked behind the scenes. My name is Deepu, and I drive digital transformation in my role as the head of operations and customer service at Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. Looking forward to a good discussion.
Thank you, Deepu. Sripal?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This is Sripal Shah here. I am currently overseeing the operations, finance, and technology functions as Kotak Securities. I've been with the company since more than 20 years now, and the large part of now the overseeing happens on the technology and digital side. And I hope to have a meaningful discussion here and learning here. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Sripal.
Yeah.
Omar, can we have your introduction?
Hello, everyone. My name is Mohammad Umar. I represent here Speridian Technologies. I'm the practice manager for the Speridian Technologies, and I'm a global SME for the banking. And last 15 years, I've been giving solution to all the banks across the globe. Thank you.
Great to have you here, Omar.
Thank
you all. So let's jump right into the discussion. My very first question is very practical and simple. With all kinds of lockdown issues, branches, people not visiting branches, people not visiting any physical touch points, how are, with touch points like these becoming less attractive, how are you engaging and retaining your customers and servicing them and keeping them satisfied and not losing them to competitors? Who would like to start?
So one of the ways, in which we kept, customers engaged was by ensuring a seamless switch to digital servicing. And then secondly, we embarked on a massive communication campaign because customers need to be aware, that these digital tools are available. And the third is, our mantra that even as you are, digitally connected, customers need a healing touch. So we ensured that, we also gave them, a human touch because care and empathy are important. So seamless digital servicing, massive communication blitzkrieg, and a human touch.
Fantastic. Very 3 points. Anand, what is your observation on this?
Sure. So, first and foremost, when this entire crisis started, I think one thing that we very quickly came up with was what is COVID, right? For us, it stood as creating opportunities in virus-infected days. So we said that, boss, chalo, let's take the positive. Also, my consumer is not very digital. This is a guy who's in the absolute remote area somewhere, in Darbhanga under a tree selling pakoras and has a bank account with me or is transferring money somewhere or is offering banking services. So for us, the challenge was to tell our consumer base that, listen, these places are safe to go to. Go ahead, go there and transact. So don't worry. And we actually ran a campaign with our merchants to get them to maintain the right kind of sanitization, have spray, clean hands and stuff. And the good part is that since the merchant has the skin in the game, you come up the curve that much faster. So I think our challenge was more that to restore confidence in something which is physical. And as Deepu said, the key here was really communication. Just keep communicating, right? Keep talking, keep all possible channels of communication open. And that just keeps the community engaged. And if the community is engaged, business and everything happens. And then it obviously picked up and put us on a very, very good trajectory almost, within literally less than a month of all the lockdowns and all starting.
Fantastic. So you put a mix of physical and psychological is the way I understand. Bring
Absolutely.
in the customer comfort. Shripal, what is your organization's experience and what kind of customers do you have?
Sure, sure. So basically, we are a organization where we have got a traditional relationship-based, branch-based broking services are given. We are having around 150 plus branches
Okay.
where clients are physically visiting and even trading through our dealers. And there is a digital piece also where clients are coming to our mobile and website and trading. Now, suddenly, when we went into lockdown, we realized that we were not prepared to move everything on digital. And I think the word now is that no amount of CTO would have done this kind of a transformation which COVID has done or has forced upon us. So immediately we had to implement some cloud telephony solutions where all the dealers who were trading on in branches had to be enabled on cloud telephony, and clients were given a dedicated numbers to them, and they could basically service the client sitting at their home while all their calls getting recorded, because one of the regulatory requirement was that any calls which are taken for a stock market trading has to be recorded. And
Right.
so immediately I think cloud trading is what cloud telephony is what we immediately implemented. Second immediate thing that we done was that our acquisition model was physical, where our salesperson used to go along with the mobile app and used to do digital entry and generate the accounts. Now that also went for a spin because you couldn't visit the clients anymore. So immediately we had to move on the process where the entire journey was digital. Within 1.5 months, we moved to that portion, and all the salesperson were able to acquire the client through digital journey, sitting at home. During this 1.5 month, the salespeople were basically again put on the cloud telephony with a lot of campaigns. We asked them to keep in touch with the clients, understand their need, cross sell some of the products which are relevant. In fact, at that time, some health insurance were very popular. Those sachet product that also got sold. So basically, we turned that into opportunity, and the entire market, the equity capital market, stockbroking went into transformation in terms of moving to digital. Just to tell you the number, the mobile volume in the market, which was around 25% last year,
Mm-hmm.
has now moved to 40% of the total volume. So it has seen significant jump in overall composition on the back of overall volume doubling. So
Okay.
on
Okay.
the back of volume doubling, the mobile component has gone from 25% to 40%. And if you include website trading, it is almost now 60 to 70% of the total trading volume. So India as a country is moving towards digital on the entire stock market.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Uh, so I think communication with clients and handholding seems to be the common thing that all three of you are talking about, backed by different transformation strategies, whether physical or digital or mobile, as the case may be. But I'd like to drill a little deeper. Are there any particular products? So now we talked at the organization level. If you go down to product level, was there any product that really drove the digital adoption or some other kind of technological adoption? And how did the organization drive that or facilitate that actually? Any particular noteworthy product among your portfolio or kind of transaction or kind of service?
Now, one is, you see, everything had to become digital. Therefore, it was product agnostic, because it's not as if, you're going to the office only for health insurance and, you are doing remote, motor insurance remotely. So one, it was product agnostic. The other thing to your query is, since everybody had gone into a digital way of working and living, even a product launches became digital. Earlier, how would you do a product launch? You would basically, go into a press conference and then do that. We launched products, digitally using social media. So that is where I'm saying, it became this one. And the third is, we launched some new products and we gave, fresh lease of life to some existing products. So for example, cyber insurance, because when everything is, digital, then something like cyber insurance, really comes to the fore. And we also launched, pet insurance, and a lot of people, loved it.
Pet insurance.
Yeah, pet insurance. Yeah. So that way. So everything became digital.
Shripal.
Yeah, just to add to, I think I agree with Dipu. Everything had to move to digital, and it is not specific to any product that it had more push. But yes, in terms of platform, mobile was the platform of choice of most of the clients, where they immediately move to the mobile vis-a-vis the other channel.
Okay.
I could see during this time, I think clients adopted mobile technology to access all the services and all the products.
Okay. And Anand, anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, a lot of the training that went on to our merchant network, because that was really the moment of truth as far as our customers go. A lot of it was done physically, and I think we very seamlessly moved that to training them through Google Classroom. We had lots and lots of Facebook Lives as a way of interaction. So what all this did was that actually the quality of the training started improving pretty dramatically, because they could come back again and again for those sessions. So net, it gave us a lot of purchase. And again, the point that Shripal was making in terms of moving the entire telephone system on the cloud, where again we had to migrate let's say our call centers to literally to people's homes, because this consumer base often would call in. So I think that was one big initiative, and this is the time. This became absolutely the right time to sit and launch our chatbot also. So a lot of fellows were skeptical that this particular customer base use a technology platform such as this.
Okay, that's great. Now that's a very interesting perspective you put about educating and training the channel partners digitally. Let's now shift to a different lens. We talked about transactional kind of things. Let's start to talk a little bit of customer relationship. Let's talk about from the CRM lens. The CRM as a technology, as a solution, has been around for decades, and it's something that carries a large promise. So in this digital transformation and digital churn, if I may say, how did CRM fare? What kind of assistance did CRM solutions give your organization? Did it help optimize or facilitate certain kind of things? What is it that you got out of CRM in this unexpected scenario? Anand, let's start with you.
I'll take that. So our CRM implementation is still fairly recent, and we're still grappling with certain issues. As you said, right, the CRM systems promise a lot, but then there are always, because CRM is more cultural than anything else. Rest is technology that's commoditized.
Okay.
One particular feature was something that worked pretty well for us, because this was a time when you had to optimize to the extent possible, was that we embedded this ability to track we started sending a lot of videos, because we figured physical movement not possible. So tons and tons of videos going into people. We started tracking who's seen which video, how long have they seen, how many people have they shared it to. And that allowed us to start saying, okay, we will focus on this cohort. The guys who are actively engaged with the video, let's talk to them, because they're showing some interest. That ability to optimize can work pretty well for us in our CRM system, which was still reasonably rudimentary, is what I would say, because I know of the Bajaj systems and all, like world-class stuff, but we are nowhere. We're like how cottage industry comparatively. But even within that, this small ability of tracking paid significant dividends.
I think that's
really helped drive a lot of cultural change also for us.
Fantastic example that one small thing, maybe like 5% of CRM, made such a big impact.
Absolutely, big impact.
That's amazing. Deepu, at Bajaj Allianz, anything that CRM played a role?
Absolutely, Manoj. It's a very, very fair question and a very good question, because you need a good CRM, which is typically a good middleware between your core system and your customer-facing assets, to come to the party during such a time. For example, our CRM really helped us, manage work from home smoothly. We revamped our CRM platform at the right time. So, our customer service folks, could access it, from home. That really helped.
Okay.
The other is, like I told you, we had to ensure that, customers continue to get service through our digital assets. Of course, we had a contact center, and then customers approach us through email, through our AI-driven chatbot, through our customer portal, through WhatsApp, through our mobile app. The CRM is the one, which basically puts it all together, so the customers can get, service seamlessly. So that was one. The other is, Manoj, just going a little beyond CRM conceptually, nowadays there is talk, it's like, almost like a new philosophy just coming to existence, that today it's not about CRM, but CMR, which is, it's not about customer relationship management, but customer managed relationship. In the sense, that, you need to get into, one view of customers, from the firm side. And from the customer side, increasingly, they are getting into control. They are curating products, they're getting into a lot of self-service. So be it sales, be it product, be it service, customers are becoming, co-creators. So therefore, that's a new twist, which has come in.
So is CRM evolving into becoming CMR?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And Shripal, what is your organization's experience with CRM?
Yeah, so in the initial days of lockdown, we actually faced a problem because all people had to work from home, and many of them did not have a laptop or desktop at home. So we actually ended up procuring and renting some of them and supplying them for 1 week or so. So that disrupted the call center operation during that time, and abundant rate increased pretty lot, and the volume moved to email and chat. In fact, we promoted chat substantially in that period. At all interaction points, we promoted encourage customer to use chat rather than call because we were facing huge volumes. Incidentally, what happened was that that was a time when stock market also went into completely volatile phase. So even otherwise, it would have landed up us into a huge volume. And because of this lockdown, it aggravated the situation. So I think we basically struggled for 1 week or so before we could, get into some control of the situation. After that, I think we got cloud telephony, laptop delivered to the employees, and encouragement of chat. All these three, over a period of time, ensured that we come back on the normal.
Very interesting. Umar, if I may ask you, you have all kinds of customers in the financial. Give us an idea how many customers you have and what are some of the key responses they got from the CRM as they tackle this global pandemic.
Sure. So on the Speridian front, we have a whole CRM practice known as FinAlign, and we are multiple banks across the globe that are using. One of the biggest bank in this region also is using, and if I count on the fingertips, it would be more than 20 or 25 customers already using our services on this one thing.
Okay.
When this pandemic stuck, right, Shripal said, right now that the whole team, the call center, everyone had to move home, right? And when this all thing happened, the CRM should have the capability to give the full knowledge to all those call center and all the business needs, right? And sometimes you also need to get more people in this whole thing because your branches have closed down, right? And you need more bandwidth into these people, and a quick CRM, easy to learn. The system should be self-explanatory itself, right? And in this whole thing, the FinAlign worked marvelously because we had the full customer 720. Previously, people used to call 360, right? And now it's not only the customer data outside, it's 720 where the data of the customer from all the mediums, social media is interaction on the social media, interaction on the videos, the sales, everything, we're also bringing into that 360, which brings it to a 720 where we know the complete body language of the customer and his needs and wants. Now with that, these online self-service portals kicked in where customer themselves comes and interact and do the self-service of themselves. And if in between they have issues, so we have those chat bots and live experience enabled to help the customer on this. Apart from this, we have all our branch banking services digitally available. So for that, previously they had to walk down to a branch for all those services. Now these services are already there online. So in this pandemic, that really helped them. And not only going to the website, but also to the social media itself. They interact on the social media through their mobile and gives them the full availability of this. And this in return gives the benefit to the customer, a seamless experience across channel, anytime, any place banking. That's the new thing. And the actionable insight. They can work on the insight and work onto it. And on the back end, it leverages these banks to seamlessly work in pandemic, but not only work, but it gives a new opportunity to them where the customer, previously they were exposed to a limited customer. Now it's everyone, whoever is interacting on the social media through all the channels, they are not their customer. And now they will start to the next best offer, all the new customized offers to these customers and get their feedbacks and upsell those. So that's how in this pandemic, we started helping them, our customers and eventually the end customers in this.
I believe most of these features would be readily available, right?
Yeah,
You could
readily
just
available.
start using them immediately.
Certainly, readily available for the customers in the CRM, and that's the beauty of the CRM.
Okay. Let me come to, let's say, Deepu, who I think has the most mature CRM among the people here. Deepu, how do you see the evolution of CRM in terms of data versus functionality? Are you looking at more data to make the CRM more powerful, or are you looking at more functionality to get more out of the CRM, let's say in the next 6, 12, 18 months?
See, it's not necessary. It's a very good question, Manoj. And it's not necessarily one versus the other, because if you look at, what you need to do service customers, you obviously need to have, functionality all the time, because customer expectations are changing, competitors are changing. And also when it comes to customer experience, we need to understand that it's industry agnostic. If you have a mobile app, the customer is not going to compare your mobile app, with the best in your industry. He's going to compare your mobile app with the best mobile app he has seen. So therefore, functionality, needs to be in all the time. Now coming to data, what we have done, like many players have done, is to obviously leverage the cloud, because that gives you the ability to manage your data in a much more comprehensive manner. Earlier, for example, we had data stored in siloed data marts. Today, we have it in a single data lake, and that helps us get a better view of customers, and not only give them more products, but we can also give them better services. So I think the two go hand in hand, because without functionality, you can't make use of data. And if you have functionality and if you don't have data, you're not using the functionality fully, right? It's like saying that you need to make good food and you also need to have somebody who relishes the food, right? So both are important.
Very pragmatic and very diplomatic also. But Anand, let me ask you from the banking perspective, what do you see? Do you want to answer it from your organization's perspective or in general?
I think in general also, right? The thing about CRMs is that obviously the functionalities all happen, right? I mean, that's, I guess really the easy part about any CRM. I've always maintained CRM, like any other RM, is purely cultural, and it's what you can make out of it. And so I think there is enough and more in terms of the functionalities within us to really optimize and do a great job. I think all as organizations, we invariably get stuck in a rut, or say, okay, this works for me, and I'll kind of stay there depending on whatever the segment we kind of belong to. So I think otherwise they're fairly evolved. Is just how you're able to really use it that becomes a challenge, and that's where most of the shortcomings really are. I think most CRM companies do a very good job of coming up with the tech, but the hand-holding and the you yourself maximizing is where really the challenge comes in for everybody. And I guess I speak for most organizations when I say that.
Let me come to Omar before I come to Shripal. Omar, there are n number of CRM solutions in the market, and obviously they vary on the scale. Some have huge functionality, some have focused functionality. But also I'm sure some of them are easy to deploy and to use, and some are not so easy to deploy and use. Could you tell us how CRM is becoming easier to deploy and to use? And if there is something in Finalign that actually makes it easier for an organization to start using it more effectively?
You're very much right. The idea is CRM is there in market. There are multiple CRMs, right? But the financial need, the CRM that fulfills the banking needs is very important, right? Any CRM may be selling other things, but in a banking domain, you're customer centric, right? Your customer is the one you're selling, right? If your customer is rightly served and you know about all his needs before he comes to you for a need, right? And you with the data you already know, that's where you sell. And that's where our CRM Finalign sits in, right? It has the predefined financial needs of the huge banks. What is their requirements, how they will grow up their business, the new opportunities, how they can get more opportunities from their existing customer, plus make those customer body language and create campaigns as per that, and get more business out of existing and get new customers, right? Satisfied customers. That's very, very important. One certified customer will bring 10 more customers themselves, right? And that's where the CRM real meat is. And that's where our FinAlign stands.
So selling financial services or serving financial services through a CRM you're saying is different from serving cars, from soaps, from toothpaste, and whatever else.
Car has its own features, but here we are talking about what best we can give to the customer. And in a market where multiple banks are there, we need to give them the best service, right? Else they will talk to the next bank, right? And our business is lost. One loss of a customer is like losing multiple after that.
Correct, that's true. And I guess in financial services these days, people have become much more disloyal, in the sense, given an opportunity, some credit card has a better offer there, use that. Some insurance company comes up with a better proposal, switch over, blah, blah, blah. I think that customer switchover is happening much, much faster in the financial sector. Shripal, at your organization, how is the CRM journey in the last, let's say, 12 to 24 months? What has that been, and what does the journey the next 12 to 24 months look like?
Yeah, so CRM for us has been currently homegrown. And in fact, interestingly, I recollect 10 years back, we had gone for Siebel CRM from Oracle,
Okay.
which was deployed also, but I think we went into some customization walls where we couldn't customize to an extent, and over a period of time, we switched back to our own CRM.
Okay.
So this is 10 years back that we had then. So that is one story, but currently our CRM is tightly integrated with our operation processes. So it is an extension of our operation processes itself. So end to end, basically the visibility of operation processes is there with the customer service executive. And that helps two ways. One, customer service having full view of the operation processes where customer is currently traveling to. And even the seamless communication to clients are done through the system where even operational stages are being communicated to clients in a timely manner. So that is one advantage of the homegrown old CRM that we have. But at the same time, the industry and the technologies have moved a long leap in this area. And particularly when you ask this question, whether it is data or functionality that you would look at it, my view is that since data has come in so abundance now, that you need to have a technology which can help you make meaning of this data and use of this data. So I think to that extent, maybe that part of the big data and the data analytics and the further action on that, and one view of the customer across all mediums, including social media, is what is now currently fragmented. For each area, we would have gone with separate solutions where you will get some agency to do brand scanning and look at all social media interaction and cover that. You will look at some speech analytics as a separate solution and try to do some sentimental analysis. You will we have moved from chat to chatbot now. So those are the things, but I still feel that those are still working on various different solutions in a fragmented manner. I am not sure whether that journey will continue or it is not optimum, but currently it is working for us. But if you ask whether there is a need to have a single solution, yes, there is a need. But whether that is easily implementable and possible, I am not sure whether how easy or how difficult it can be, given the kind of complex integration currently we have. Another important lesson that we learned during the Siebel implementation is it is very important for us to have a user on board about any change. And typically users are used to a particular way of CRM and particular way of functioning. Unless you do a organizational level change management along with this software implementation, it becomes a challenging task. So I will just rest here in terms of your feedback or anybody's feedback on the problem, challenges, and advantages we have with the current solutions that we have.
So let's dive deeper into this, and let me maybe ask Deepu and Anand also. Is tight integration between CRM and operating modules desirable, or it's better to have them separate? And I don't know, what is the overall perception looking forward? And Mohammed, what do your customers say? Do they want tight integration, tight coupling, or they want loose coupling? What works better?
You definitely need a coupling, right? Because there are aspects of operations that impact the consumer's interaction with you. Let's say service requests, or whether the guy got this document, did not get this document. So you get that full, as you said, right? Almost like it's a 720-degree view of the consumer. So yep, see, inside the organization, obviously, phenomenal coupling is required so that to the outside world it all appears incredibly seamless, right? That can only, if inside the organization it's very, very tightly bound. And then you take a call to, how much do you want? But the basic answer is yes. Strong degree of coupling, very, very critical. Otherwise, it just becomes patchwork, and then life is being run out of Excel sheets, and then there is chaos and absolute chaos.
I think in that sense,
clearly,
Sripal and his team have done the right thing with the tight coupling so far.
Absolutely.
But Deepu, what is your thought on this?
See, Manoj, I'm also of the view that tight integration is the order of the day, because at the end of the day, what are you using various modules for? Ultimately, you are using all of these to give service to the customer. So therefore, whether it is operational modules, whether it is claims, whether it is any other part of the business, if they can all link up to give data real time, it will help the customer service representative as well as others who leverage CRM to give a real time service to the customer. So if you can have tight integration, it's better than doing a batch process at the end of the day. So so it's a no-brainer.
And Umar, what do your customers say about your financial sector customers say about integration?
Yeah, so in the financial domain, this integration is a very, very important part, right? And integration with their core system for the operation system is very, very necessary. Sometimes a resource who's handling this particular customer is on leave, and your HR system is totally working separate. Okay, and that RM is missing, the lead is being dropped in the middle of the year. If it's not tightly integrated, and whoever is replacing or is the next in the HR itself doesn't comes to the CRM, you're losing your entire process. And that's why sometimes it's very, very necessary. And the system should be integrated. This CRM is the heart of the bank, right? Previously, we used to call the core banking, but now this heart should be connected to everywhere. So you can serve the customer, plus also during this serving of this customer, if there is anything happening inside the bank, the operational issue or something, you're tightly coupled and you take up that very efficiently. The next role, the next body who's there can take up this role. So I think the banks which I'm using, they totally support this phenomena that we should be coupled, integrated with all the system around.
Okay, that's good. I think there's a general consensus about coupling operations and CRM. But let's go to the next level, CRM and analytics. So since our title is N equals 1, how much is CRM actually helping give a complete 360-degree picture or a complete 720-degree picture of the customer? Are CRM systems able to cope up, or do they need rapid changes because the world is changing rapidly, right? You have a customer 6 months later, there's so much more he's doing online shopping and posting things here and there, stuff like that. You need to remain up to date. So how difficult is it to get a meaningful 360-degree picture? Deepu, maybe you can start.
Yeah. So you see, Manoj, what is happening is, just as we keep hearing about, hyper automation, right? Hyper automation refers to automating everything. It's also the age of hyper personalization. Everybody, wants, a personalized service. So which is why, I think N equals 1 is today no longer a luxury. I think it's a necessity. So what, CRM will help you do, right, is along with, the allied satellite systems, is you literally can get into, a segmentation of one, whether it be from a marketing perspective or whether it be from a servicing perspective.
Okay.
And because everything is digital, right? In terms of your data, in terms of the way you are servicing, it becomes, that much more easier to do it today. So I think it's here to stay. And I think, we are only seeing the beginning of, this journey. And in fact, somebody asked me, saying, how do you think it's possible? So there was an interesting point made in a panel discussion. Today, millions of mobiles are sold, right? But every mobile is unique. You look at each one, you can make out it's different. So they said that's why even if you scale up, you can customize to literally, a segment of one.
But have we reached 360 degrees? Are we at 350 or 355?
It's difficult to put a number, but the journey is on, Manoj. It's difficult to put a number because different firms are, at a different level of maturity. But certainly, we have gone away from, let's say, what was this 30 degrees? I think you're not turning left, right, and turning, to your back as well.
Okay. Anand, what does the scene look like for FinoBank? How many degrees has it achieved?
And I really hope and wish we can reach what Mohammed said in terms of 720. But I guess we're pretty far away from that yet. See, a big challenge that we have is that my customer is still very physical. So digital life that he leads with me, fantastic. Everything is known, great. Then there is a lot of unstructured data. So the guy has called in, so there is some voice, or now increasingly we are doing video calls, we're doing KYC, video KYC and stuff like that. So a lot of information coming in like this. We are still grappling with how do you put you use that in a better and better way. So you'll kind of get there. But even with that limited data, today you can go down to a segment of one and then send one direct communication to that one guy in Darbhanga saying, look, you haven't bought insurance yet. I mean, since Deepu's on the call, first product that comes to mind is insurance. Most retail banking services may not be profitable. So, so today you can do that. So it's as Deepu said, it's no longer a luxury. It's a reality, and we're kind of there. Do you need a 360 for it to start to go on to the journey? Probably no. I think you can start the journey without that if you have the means to communicate and get there. Yes, as the degree goes on increasing, the productivity or the efficiency kind of gets better. So I think our investments in doing things like better quality notifications, using that analysis to say, okay, whom do I go after? And talking about mobiles, I mean, we kind of figured that, most of our high performing merchants are on a Redmi 9 phone. Okay, great, fantastic. So now can I use this to, customer acquisition, way also? So that's where analytics comes in and increases the power of what you have, going down to almost n equal to 1. But, you just have to start the journey. It's like chemistry. I mean, it's a sport. You just need to get started. If you don't get started, you'll never get there. There'll never be a situation. So, I guess for those who are listening into this conversation, start the journey. The 360, 720, everything will all happen over time.
Just do it.
Just do it. Just get started.
Okay. Thanks, Anand. Shripal, Anand has given a very good perspective from the banking scenario for his kind of bank. Can you give us a perspective from the securities industry scenario? What factors, how important is n equals 1? And if so, what is driving it? What are the benefits expected out of it?
Of course, I mean, gone are the days when you segment customer and, give a vanilla offering. I mean, ultimately, we have to move towards segment of one where you are able to give each and every individual personalized offering. So only one point to discuss and debate over here is that when we are talking about segment of one, does it really related to servicing or it relates to a customer, which includes not only servicing, but it includes transaction and some factors which are beyond transaction. So at Kotak Securities out here, what we have done is that we have gone ahead with a personalized analytical engine, which is AI ML basis, which basically tries to cover 100 plus dimensions of a customer's interactions with us, which is some part of that comes also from CRM, but CRM becomes one source of dimensions for customers' overall view apart from the CRM interactions, we also consume a lot of other interaction, where is basically client trading from, which platform he is trading from, which time of the day he generally trades, which platform he logs in, whether he has been making losses or profits, whether he has been inactive in a during particular time. Then we also try to link it with the outside fact, like during the period when client was having a particular behavior, was market very volatile, is client also using our news and research section, and we then try to basically create a genome of a client, and then try to predict some of the actions for them. And for that, we try to use some predictive modeling through AIML. And based on that, we try to give a right nudges to the customer through multiple channel. And those triggers are then generated and sent through omni-channel various platforms. And after that, we also do A/B testing. So we try to measure whether the triggers which are generated or campaigns which are generated specific to clients, how it is performing versus the people who did not get this campaign. So broadly, not specific to 360-degree view, but we try to create a view which we believe is not 360, but maybe up to 300-degree. Because still a lot of social media interactions are still not part of our analytics. The analytics that we have is what is available on my website, my platforms. We know what client is doing with me. We don't know what client is doing outside me. I mean, outside our platforms. So to that extent, I don't have a 360-degree, but broadly within the transactions, within our platforms, we are able to try to create a persona for each client. Of course, this is never ending process. We have just started, and we would have not more than 50 to 60 those models which are currently working. But journey has started, results are interesting, and a long way to go. I can only say this.
And Shripal, what you're saying, does that represent also the industry view? Are most players like yours thinking something similar?
Industry-wide, there is again fragmentation. You have got, see, stockbroking has evolved over last 25 years. You have traditional brokers, you also have a bank-based brokers, and you have got a new fintech players. So I assume that new fintech players would have embraced this technology or this already, whereas the other large brokers are investing into technology and catching up on these areas. I think the fragmented players or small players over a period of time, I think will get into consolidation mode, and we have started seeing that happening also. Because now broking has become more like a technology play, and a lot of people says now you are not in the business of broking, but you are in the business of technology. You are a technology player which also offers broking. You are not a broker who is having good technology. So I think things are changing now, completely becoming tech driven.
Anything in the financial sector is becoming technology driven. If there is technology is missing in the picture or is weak, then there's a problem. Yeah. So Umar, if I may ask you, what are your other customers? Give us a perspective. What are your other customers saying about a 360-degree perspective? Is 300 degrees good enough for them, or they want 400 degrees or 500 degrees or 720 degrees?
Yeah.
And why? Are they also telling you why?
Yeah. So like Shripal said, it's very much what you have. There are two types of data. Okay. One is your internal data. That's your own property, the data that you are getting from your own medium, the interaction of the customer, his spending patterns, and you can devise AI and ML logos, pseudo logos on top of it and do it. But the other part of data is very, very important. That's the outside data, the social media, his interaction on different mediums. That data is also important. When you match those data together and get out the pseudocode, that's the real goal. And there's where you know the spending pattern and what next best offer you can offer to the customer, right? In the customers which I am dealing globally, they're using the both side of data. And then they're creating a 720 on top of it, right? This data which they are getting from social media, from the competitor analysis, his interaction on the social media is very, very important, right? And that one you match with your role, then you're campaigning, you're serving of the customer, offering the next best offer, really helps them and really guides the whole thing. And that's how my CRM, my part of the customers are leveraging that data.
Okay, that's interesting. Anyone of you would like to share on this 360-degree thing, or N equals 1, or CRM, or CMR? Something that I'm not asking you, but you have something to share. Any stories, any perspectives that your CEO or board of directors are asking you? Anyone?
I'll share one. I think increasingly, in this entire stuff, while we always talk big data and all, I think now the board everywhere, or at least in my context, is getting into what often gets labeled as small data, which is why. Why is this happening? So what data does is it tells you what is happening. It will describe, okay, this happens, this. You'll see some causality, there'll be correlations and everything. But I think increasingly, and what's good is that folks are going back to the consumer and really trying to understand, why are you doing this? How did you do this? There is a reason. And the realization in financial services is getting stronger by the day that buying behavior is not rational. I think the FMCG guys have long cracked it, that we do not buy rationally. Nobody invests rationally. Shripal, I'm sure you all would have seen so much more of this, that stock market behavior is incredibly non-rational. So I think that realization is just getting stronger and stronger. And hence, collecting consumer data also, which is unstructured, the social media data, what all did that guy like, see, his voice, his picture, the background and all, starts getting very, very critical, so that you really start making sense of what the guy is doing. And then that makes it easier to hit N equal to 1 without knowing everything about that, every single guy, and just improves the overall efficiency of the system, and just makes it more relatable also from a customer perspective.
Very interesting, Anand. Thank you.
Manoj, yeah, I just want to add
Yes.
two perspectives to what Anand said and what you asked. Now, when we talk about N equals 1 and 360-degree view, ultimately we are saying that using data, we get a holistic view, and we get into a segmentation of 1. But one thing we need to understand, and is the fact that underlying all these transactions, ultimately, who are we doing it for? We're doing it for the customer.
Mhm.
What firms have embarked on, especially after COVID-19 hit us, is there has been a great surge forward in terms of digitizing the physical. But now what has happened with customers is that they also expect a human touch. Because typically when you're contacting any company, you don't typically call for a positive reason. You typically call for a negative reason. You have a grievance which you want to be addressed, right? At that time, you want a healing touch. So
Yes.
therefore, today the accent is not only on digitizing the physical, but it is also on humanizing the digital. So firms are focusing on how digital tools can start to mimic human experience. So that is one dimension. The other dimension is that when you look at data, when you look at N equals 1, when you look at 360, we are restricting ourselves. If you look at from the perspective of in the box and outside the box, to what we know in terms of what the customer has told us. Now, data everybody has, so you don't have an advantage. So how do you go beyond data? So therefore, today the other focus also is not only in terms of meeting the customer's stated needs, but how can you also read between the lines, and meet his unstated needs. So let me give you an example from many years ago. When the first ATM was launched, no customer came and said, I want the ATM. What would have been the response? What would have been the query then? I can't wait for a long time, because it takes me really long time to wait in the queue. And what could have been the response? Let's ensure that, nobody goes for lunch. There's a staggered shift. Let us, increase tellers. When customers are waiting, in order to take their mind away from the waiting, can we give them some reading material? Can we give them some refreshment? And then some smart gentleman thought of the ATM. First, had to set up the ATM in the branch. Then they said, why should the customer come to the branch? So let us have offsite ATMs. And the ATM has stood the test of time. So sometimes we need to come out with those solutions, which are, which call for lateral thinking and not just linear thinking. So I think, these dimensions are equally important.
Absolutely. Very interesting example.
Interesting, Deepu. I just add to one thing on that. On the ATM now, mobile ATMs have started. So
exactly,
ATM comes to your home.
Yes. And in fact, SBI at one point of time even had a floating ATM. There was an ATM, like, you have these houseboats in Kerala where there was a floating ATM.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, there was a particular ferry service that was very popular. Thousands of customers were using it every day.
Right.
So they say, why not put an ATM there so people can use it? It's like
Exactly.
an ATM at a railway station or something. So it worked well
Right.
for them. I remember about that. Cool. That's interesting. So Omar, what is your view on this? How do you see CRM systems evolving to meet unstated needs of customers, to meet what Anand described as small data, to analyze, to understand, to make sense out of small data, and not necessarily wait for the big data to accumulate, but start right away with whatever data is available. Are CRM systems evolving in that direction?
Very right. This basically CRM is a concept, right? How to serve the customer and how to know their needs and all this, right? And when we start knowing the customer more better, definitely we evolve toward how to serve them better, right? And that's where the CRM is going. Right now, the CRMs are not only seeing the current data or the data we have, but also trying to predict the future. Like a person has a need of, or he travels every year to somewhere, some places, and all this. Now, in future, what are the perspective he'll travel? And with this COVID, he will not travel this year. So how and what does he needs are there for him? Where we should target them, how to target them, and that's where this new CRM is going towards. Right? Before we know the needs, give them their need so they do not go and search in the market, but we bring them idea, this need is your future need, right? And this is where the CRM is going now.
So the way you have just described, obviously there's a whole lot of data out there, right? So is the size of the data for the CRM to handle something of an issue? Is the growing size of data that CRM needs to have certain kind of technology or something to make sense out of it? So the CRM doesn't get lost in this ocean of data. Is that becoming a challenge?
If you have the right technology, right, underneath, which has the connections, so CRM can sit on multiple data model. It's not compulsory that you bring all the data inside CRM, right? It's like you want to study data, CRM just enables that. You connect with those database, start studying it, and create all your marketing campaigns, all your needs on top of it, right? So in a nutshell, most of the banks are going towards big data and all this kind of data. They have the data. Now, just by creating an analysis, seeing this data doesn't work. You need to have an actionable data, right? And that's where CRM comes. You see the analytics, you see the output. Now, what is the next action needs to be taken? And here the CRM steps in, gives you the next point to take the actions.
Okay, great. I'll ask one last question and hopefully we can then close with that. So we heard a lot of CRM making different products and services and approaches to the customer become more optimal for the organization, whether a bank or insurance or capital markets company. But and we talked about 360 degrees. My question is CRM helping the organization become, a single point of contact for the customer? Because many times customers find themselves talking to different people in the organization for different things. Credit card, this department, home loans, that department, insurance, this department. Very difficult to get a unified response. Do you see the next role for CRM to help the organization present a simpler and a more integrated interface to the customer, making it really customer friendly? The CRM so far has been bank friendly or organization friendly. Can we see CRM evolving and making the entire integration a relationship more like a relationship, more like a bond? In fact, what I say is perhaps we need to go from relationship to a bond. A bond is much deeper. A relationship is transactional. I can have a relationship with you on a daily basis doing transactions, let's say with my grocer, but I don't have a relationship with the grocer. I may do a transaction with a relative only once a quarter or once a year, but still I may have a bond with that person or with a friend or relation or whatever. So do you see an evolution towards bonding from relationship?
It really boils down to the objectives of the bank. And since typically, you tend to have things are highly siloized, so you will you can end up with a situation of one arm of the bank pushing something and the other arm pushing something.
Correct.
So yes, something that is common across, but ultimately your structure as an organization should also support it. So the organization should also be clear that when one person talks to the customer, this person is going to be representing 10 products and not highly siloed. So if the structure is such that each one's firing, on the other, there's a lot of crossfire, or not only crossfire, the independent products, but the credit card guy just talks about credit card. And when you say, look, I want to buy an insurance policy, the guy will say, okay, sir, I'll get back to you. So I think those challenges are more structural to the bank. The CRM platform, obviously, but if the bank so desires to keep it very separate, then no amount of CRM can really solve it.
Absolutely. You're right about that, Anand. Deepu, what would you say?
One thing which we need to understand is, what is the role that CRM plays. Now, CRM may not necessarily be customer-facing, be a customer-facing tool, right? It basically works as a middleware between various customer-facing assets, and our core platform. But CRM can help in many ways. So one CRM deployment, which I had done in my earlier company, to the point that you had made, was we launched, something known as, parent and child tagging. So what happens is, if let's say a customer sends an email and it goes to a particular executive, every subsequent, email which comes, gets tagged to the original mail. So it does not have to go to, any other executive, right? That same executive, can basically see the entire trail, and by chance that person is not there, somebody else who comes in, sees the entire history. Secondly, you can do a lot of configuration. So for example, if it is corporate servicing, and let's say you have a dedicated cell for one particular client of yours, you can basically say that, any email coming with this domain name, right? Suppose you get a email which says x@bankingfrontiers.com, then it goes to a particular person. So that way it can enable a lot of features, by which, you can ensure a smooth, transaction. And that way CRM, the sky is the limit, right? I mean, it can, depending on the investment you make and depending on the features available, right? You can go to any extent to make, your backend absolutely smooth for customers.
Yeah, sounds interesting. But all these things, if they can be done, would definitely make it worthwhile. And Shripal, your closing thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think I would agree with Anand. It is more organizational, structural call that whether we want to have a common CRM across products, or you want to have a siloized product-based vertical. And what happens is that in a lot of companies, the different products are at a different stage of maturity, and they have evolved. They have evolved as a separate vertical, and they've built their own maturity level in their own style and their own need. So over a period of time, yes, it does happen that multiple subsidiaries or products have got different variants. But over a period of time, I think consolidation is the need of the hour, and a lot of companies, including at our end, have moved towards consolidating at least the platform. You might have a servicing need separately. CRM as a tool can be common, which can give you a lot of leverage and 360-degree view of the customer across products. So I think the starting point should be the common platform, and then a structure may come, may not come, but at least if you start the first step, I think it can be a very good long-term step.
Okay, that's great. So Omar, are there different kinds of consolidation that a CRM can do?
Yes, very right. Because I've seen banks where credit card, when they need credit card team to sell there, they create a new KIF, a new customer, and sell them credit card. When someone is selling a policy, they'll create a new KIF, sell a policy. So in the end, when all the data comes, there is literally n number of products and n number of customers, same customer, multiple names, multiple phone number, and all this. And this is where the master data MDMs come into play. Okay, the MDM is the core of the CRM, where it takes the master gold customer data, right, and it creates the gold copy, and then connect all the systems, right? And this, in the end, helps all the business needs. If a credit card wants to sell something else, he has the true copy of the customer. That customer has this other products, which may be better sold to him. So in the end, if we have the right picture of the customer, his all products to a single profile, that will help us to sell him, upsell the right things, right? And rightly campaign against that thing. Sometimes it even happens one customer is sent same campaign multiple times on multiple channels, right? If we have one copy, and if the customer is interested and he said, yes, I want to take this Because then that's it. Try covering that up and sell him more. And that's how customers sometimes even gets displeased by this whole service, right?
You're right. I know one company has been calling me at least 5-6 times for the same something, and the guy who calls has no idea someone has called him before that. Same pitch starts all over again. It's very irritating. So I think you're right that quantity of data is one thing, but quality of data also matters. And that is something for the CRM to handle, especially all kinds of customer data, that at least clean up and remove the duplication and remove whatever else. So I think it's been an interesting discussion. I think we've covered quite a few areas. Obviously, there's a lot more to cover, but given our time constraints, we have done a lot. So thank you once again. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Deepu. Thank you, Shripal. Thank you, Omar, for a very wonderful discussion, looking at N=1 from a CRM perspective, from a 360-degree perspective, from an operations perspective, from a customer satisfaction perspective, and from the organization perspective. Thank you all very much from Banking Frontiers. It's been a wonderful discussion.